The studio lights felt hotter than usual as Sean Bean settled into his chair on the Loose Women set, the familiar hum of a live broadcast vibrating under his ribs. He had done this dance 100 times, smiled for the cameras, traded jokes, talked about craft and character, nodded politely at questions designed to provoke a soundbite. He expected the usual. What he didn't expect was how quickly the air would sour. Denise Welch leaned forward almost immediately, elbows on the desk, eyes sharp with that practiced mix of curiosity and challenge. "Sean," she began, smiling thinly, "you've built a career on playing men who die spectacularly. Do you think that says something about how audiences see you? Disposable masculinity, perhaps?" There it was. Not a question, not really, more like a dart wrapped in velvet. Sean chuckled softly, buying himself a second. "I think it says audiences like a good story," he replied. "And sometimes that story ends badly for the character. That's drama." The other panelists murmured, one of them laughing, but Denise wasn't finished. "Or," she continued, "it says something about the kind of roles you choose. Violent men, broken men. Some would say you glorify it." Sean felt a flicker of irritation. He shifted, straightened his jacket. "Acting isn't glorifying. It's exploring. There's a difference." Denise tilted her head. "Is there? When young men watch you swing swords and shoot guns, when they see you rewarded with fame." "I'm not rewarded for violence," Sean cut in, his voice still calm but firmer now. "I'm rewarded for telling stories honestly." The producer's voice crackled faintly in his earpiece, a reminder to keep things light. Sean ignored it. He could feel the audience leaning in, that collective breath when entertainment edges toward confrontation. Denise smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Let's talk honesty then. You've spoken about turning down roles you found morally questionable. Yet you've played characters who betray, murder, abandon their families. Where's the line?" The question landed heavier than she probably intended. Sean's jaw tightened. "The line is intent," he said. "And context. A villain on screen isn't a role model. If viewers can't tell the difference, that's not on the actor alone." A hush settled. One of the other hosts tried to interject, but Denise waved her off. "That feels like deflection," she said. "You're a public figure. You don't get to shrug responsibility." Sean leaned forward now, mirroring her posture. "I'm not shrugging anything. I'm saying adults are capable of nuance. We trust audiences to understand Shakespeare, don't we? Or should we ban Macbeth because he kills a king?" A ripple of nervous laughter moved through the studio. Denise's expression hardened. "You're being patronizing. And you're being reductive," Sean shot back, the words escaping before he could soften them. He inhaled, trying to steady himself. "With respect." Respect felt thin in the moment. Denise straightened, crossing her arms. "We're asking questions, Sean. That's our job. And I'm answering," he said. "But it feels less like curiosity and more like an ambush." The word hung there, electric. Off camera, a floor manager gestured subtly, urging them to move on. The host beside Denise attempted a pivot to Sean's latest project, but the momentum was gone. Denise wasn't letting go. "An ambush," she repeated. "Or accountability." Sean laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "Accountability for what?" "Pretending to be someone else for a living." "For influence," Denise said. "For the messages you send." Sean's patience snapped, not explosively, but decisively. "Then hold the writers accountable. The directors. The networks. Don't put the weight of society's ills on an actor's shoulders because it makes for good television." There it was. The edge. The producer's voice returned, sharper now, urging a break. Sean could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, the old instinct to walk away from something that had crossed from discussion into spectacle. Denise leaned in one last time. "You sound defensive. And you sound determined to misunderstand me," Sean replied. Silence. Cameras rolled. The audience waited. Sean exhaled slowly, stood up, and smoothed his jacket. "I came here to talk about my work, not to be lectured on morality by people who profit from controversy," he said evenly. "If that's a problem, I'll make it easy." Gasps fluttered through the studio as he stepped back from the desk. A producer hurried toward him, whispering urgently, but Sean had already made up his mind. He nodded once toward the panel, polite, final, and walked off the set, the lights blinding behind him as the broadcast cut to an unscheduled break. Backstage, the noise fell away, replaced by the steady thump of his heartbeat. He didn't know how the moment would be framed, clipped, argued over. He only knew the line had been crossed, and he wasn't willing to play along anymore. The corridor outside the studio smelled faintly of coffee and warm cables. Sean Bean paused near a fire exit, hands braced on his hips, breathing through the rush of adrenaline still buzzing in his ears. Behind him, the muffled chaos of producers and assistants spilled through the walls, urgent voices, phones ringing, damage control already in motion. A young runner approached hesitantly. "Mr. Bean, they're asking if you'd be willing to come back after the break. Just to smooth things over." Sean looked at her, not unkindly. "That wouldn't smooth anything," he said. "It would pretend nothing happened." She nodded, relieved to have an answer, and hurried off. Sean sank onto a bench, the weight of the moment settling in. He wasn't new to controversy. He'd faced critics, bad reviews, even outright hostility. But this felt different. It wasn't about a performance or a role, it was about being cornered into defending his entire career, his integrity, live on air. Minutes later, his phone vibrated. A message from his agent. "Watching now. You okay?" Sean typed back a single word, "Fine." He wasn't sure if it was true. Inside the studio, the show resumed without him. Denise Welch's voice floated faintly through a monitor someone had left on in the corridor. She was calm now, measured, explaining to the audience that passionate conversations sometimes get heated, that Sean had strong feelings, that they wished him well. The narrative was already being shaped. Sean stood and began walking toward the exit. Each step away from the set felt oddly liberating, like shrugging off a costume he'd worn too long. Outside, the London air was cool and damp. A small cluster of fans and onlookers lingered near the barriers, some checking their phones, others clearly waiting for him. As soon as they spotted Sean, a ripple of murmurs spread. "Sean, over here." He hesitated, then approached. A woman in her 40s held out her phone, not to film, but as if she'd forgotten why it was in her hand. "I just wanted to say," she said, a little breathless, "good on you. You were right to walk off." A younger man nodded vigorously. "They were trying to make you the villain." Sean smiled faintly. "That's kind of their job sometimes. But you didn't play along," the woman said. "That matters." He thanked them, exchanged a few words, then moved on. As he climbed into the waiting car, his phone buzzed again, this time with notifications stacking up faster than he could read. Clips already circulating. Headlines half-written in real time. Sean Bean storms off. Loose women set. Awkward clash leaves panel stunned. Denise Welch and Sean Bean in heated row. He closed his eyes and leaned back as the car pulled into traffic. By the time he reached home, the confrontation had become a full-blown media event. Pundits debated whether he'd been too sensitive or refreshingly honest. Some praised Denise for asking the tough questions. Others accused the show of baiting guests for clicks. Sean watched none of it. Instead, he poured a drink and sat quietly, letting the noise happen without him. That evening, his agent called. "Networks are already ringing," she said. "Some want statements. Others want you on to respond." Sean chuckled dryly. "Respond to what?" "My own temper." "Your walk off," she corrected. "They want your side." "I gave it," he said. On the show, there was a pause. "You know this will follow you for a while." "I know," Sean replied. "But so will staying silent when something feels wrong." The next morning, the Loose Women team released a carefully worded statement about lively debate and mutual respect. Denise Welch tweeted that she stood by her questions and wished Sean no ill will. Sean didn't respond. Instead, he went for a long walk, cap pulled low, letting the city move around him unnoticed. By afternoon, something unexpected began to surface. Actors, some famous, some not, started speaking up. Quiet posts about being pushed into confrontations. About interviews turning into interrogations. About the pressure to perform outrage as entertainment. Sean read them slowly, thoughtfully. Maybe his walk-off wasn't just a moment, it was a crack in the routine. That night, he finally issued a brief statement through his agent. "No accusations. No counterattacks. Just clarity. I believe in honest conversation," it read. "But not in reducing complex work, or people, to soundbites. I chose to leave because the discussion no longer felt constructive. I wish everyone involved the best." The reaction was swift and, surprisingly, balanced. Some still criticized him. Others respected the restraint. The story began to cool, replaced by the next outrage, the next viral moment. Weeks later, Sean sat on another set, quieter, smaller, a long-form interview with a thoughtful host. No ambushes. No traps. Just time and space. At the end, the host asked, "Do you regret walking off?" Sean considered the question carefully. Then he smiled. "No," he said. "I regret that it came to that. But I don't regret knowing when to walk away." And for the first time since the confrontation, the answer felt complete.